welcome to Coder Radio. It's, of course, Mike, as always. Got a great show for you this week. I'm actually meeting with Joey DeVilla. He is a local Tampa developer evangelist, and accordion aficionado, which I've met him several times over the years, quite a bit. We've become very friendly. And yeah, most of the time he has an accordion, and I can't say that, he plays it really well. He does impromptu shows at trade shows and like developer meetups. It's pretty cool. He's also been on our local news affiliate, which is good. Pretty great guy for technology, smart guy. I think formerly of Microsoft. He's worked just all over the place, done all kinds of things. Really has his pulse on both the wider technology space, but also the Tampa area. The reason I think this is interesting for those of you who are not, right here in Tampa, is you hear a lot about, what's going on in Silicon Valley, San Francisco, New York, I guess London, right? Other international cities, maybe to a somewhat lesser extent. And you don't hear about, I don't want to say second tier, but, I'm sure Orlando and Miami would have something to say regarding technology cities in Florida, where it's the same as you would expect, but there's differences. I'll give you one, and I'm not putting words in Joey's mouth here. This is kind of my perception. Because we have the MacDill Joint Base, right? Used to be an Air Force Base, now it's like Joint Base. We have tons of focus on cybersecurity. There's cybersecurity startups. There's all kinds of collaboration and outreach programs from the military, right? From that base to these startups. There's actually a program called SoftWorks right in a section of Tampa called Ybor City, where they just actively, you can go there and meet, folks from the military that kind of help you out. And they have events. You can basically pitch, try to get some business for yourself. It's a super interesting and kind of cool way the Tampa Tech startup adjacent, right, ecosystem has formed because of the influence of this. I mean, I can't stress how large MacDill is. It is a huge base. If I'm assuming the vast majority of you have never been there, it dwarfs most bases around. It's kind of crazy. So, and its influence is pretty significant, both in local businesses, technology, and I mean, I'd even go far as to say higher education, right? There's a lot of university programs, things like that. So this is a good conversation. Of course, the snake python gets mentioned. Can't have a Coder Radio without slithering. Rust, if you crab people, you can clap. I don't know. What do you do at claws? Like castanets, right? I'm not really sure. You can do whatever it is you do with your claws because you're here. You're here. You're pinching. I love it. It's great. Little note of errata. I've been droning on and on about this for weeks, but go to the Coder Radio Discord. Go to that hiring channel if you're looking for work. There are a bunch of jobs in there. We have a couple guys posting Fed-related jobs. I posted something from System 76. They're looking for I'm probably going to get this wrong, so this is why you should look yourself, but I think the title was build engineer. The picture they have is a Thelio being built. So that's pretty cool, especially if you're in the area or you're, willing to relocate and work on cool open source Linuxy stuff, right? Because the hardware there is even open source. Next week, I'm going to do another mailbag and grab bag. So I would say by next weekend, that should be out. Go ahead and shoot me any comments. You got to @message. You got to, tag me in it in the show feedback channel. If you don't want it to be visible by other people, you can go ahead and fill out the form on the coder.show site. I also have a couple topics. So just, a quick roundup like we do just about every month. And then I got more guests, more fun. I would also mention that my Linux journey is continuing, and I'm going to have more on that next week. It has been just a little teaser here. I would say one of the smoother, if not smoothest, attempts at using Linux 99% of the time, right? The 1% is I had to do a Mac build for somebody, and I don't have my Stream Deck, which spoilers, I'm going to start using that, and all my audio stuff set up still on the little Mac hub. But Yeah, development wise, pretty straightforward. I was ironically able to help someone else who was frustrated with a stupid MediaTek Wi-Fi driver issue that I happen to have with my Framework 13 because they the MediaTek just needs to kind of fix their drivers. So be great, guys. Can you do that, please? No, maybe. All right. Well, we will be right with Joey right after this quick ad. This episode is sponsored by Mailtrap, an email platform that developers love. Go for high inboxing rates. Try today at mailtrap.io. Check the details in the description below. All right, so as promised, I'm here with Joey DeVilla of Tampa Tech fame. If you're local, you may have seen him many times on our local news or just out and about downtown Tampa with his accordion. He's quite the accomplished musician. He's also a well-known developer and developer advocate down here. How you doing, Joey?
Doing quite well, thank you. I wouldn't say accomplished, maybe notorious.
You're good. Don't sell yourself short.
I would get laughed out of a polka hall. My technique's a little too punk rock.
You know what? It's like a modern take on I can't say ancient, but let's say a venerable art form, right?
Oh, all right, that's fair.
So, we've been we've seen each other a few times around, all these crazy Tampa Tech events, and there seems to always be a lot going on down here, man.
Yeah, there is, but it wasn't always the case. When I first moved here in 2014, scene was a little bit quieter, and I remember having to travel farther and wider to catch events.
Oh man, where'd you have to go?
Let's see now. I was new to the area, so I'm very sure I'd be able to name them now, but back then it just seemed like a long drive, the middle of nowhere, a Panera in a town I'd never heard of that I would probably recognize today going, "Oh yeah, that's that place." But back then I was a stranger in a strange land.
Well, that's certainly changed. I mean, I follow your newsletter. There's 5 or 6 events almost every week now.
Yeah. For starters, what happened is a lot of companies popped up and they in turn, some people eventually left those companies, started their own things, started their own meetups, and it just grew. And people also moved here to either work here or this is also a fantastic remote working city. This is, I think there were people talking about the phenomenon of Zoom cities, and Tampa is an excellent Zoom city. Even if people don't start companies here or businesses here, they start branches of companies or businesses here, or at least work out of here and show up to local tech events.
Right. We have a Microsoft campus that seems to be involved in at least a lot of the stuff that I go to. Right. They're I know you call them like an annex of, but they're like a relatively small.
Yeah, there's a presence here, and there are developers here who make things that you use all the time that you'd never realize were living here. I know personally somebody who makes apps for the NFL and for the
Nice.
Yankees, and a Bumble developer is here. There are these people who work on things that millions of people use worldwide, based here in Tampa, and no one would ever know it.
It's true. It's a lot of people zooming by day, but the events are pretty. I mean, I remember I came down here, must have been a few years later than you, and the events even then were quite a bit smaller. I felt than
Yeah,
now. Yeah, now they're filling up the whole hall at the college, right? The whole.
right. Yes, we get. Yeah, there are large events, and a couple of the meetups that I've inherited have crossed the 2,000 member mark, and it's gotten to the point. Thankfully, we've got a place like Embark Collective where they have a sponsorship. They've worked something out with Bank of America where they sponsor tech meetups, which basically means we don't have to pay for the space, because normally there's
Nice.
a couple $100 fee for the rental space, and they also provide the food, which is probably even more expensive, especially once you start crossing the 50, 60
Oh
attendee
yeah.
threshold.
Oh yeah. God, you're getting into wedding territory there.
Oh yeah, that's right. Luckily, thankfully, without the wedding surcharge that all the wedding event people love to add on.
It's amazing how much like grilled chicken can cost when it's the right venue, right?
Exactly.
So which meetups did you inherit?
I inherited the Tampa Bay AI meetup,
Ooh.
which is a great one, and also Tampa Bay Python.
You got the. I saw that. Okay, you're now. Folks don't know you're a. I would say you've been bitten by the snake. I think that's a
That's fair.
fair
But that
assessment.
goes a way back. I learned Python at Burning Man back in 1999.
Okay, so it's a mystical glowing snake, but fine.
Yes, exactly. And I had to, I'd gotten a job at this place and they said, look, hey, on your vacation, could you pick up Python? And I said, you realize that I'm going on vacation to Burning Man, but you know what? I will find a way to learn. And thankfully, the mornings at Burning Man are quiet. All the partying happens at night
Makes
in
sense.
the mornings. And by the way, morning goes as late as 3 p.m.
Yeah.
in Burning Man if you party all night. It's relatively quiet. You can get a lot of work done. Our RV had a generator, and I had a copy of Learning Python and my laptop, and that's where I learned it.
That's amazing. Well, what were you coming off of before you kind of dived into Python?
Before diving into Python, let's see now. I was working on my first company where it was me and somebody else running it. We were doing a consultancy, writing code in Visual Basic and Access for deployment via CD-ROM. It was our big customer was National Research Bureau, and we wrote a database, an Encarta-like application, which was
Nice.
based on top of a database of every mall in the U.S.
I think just real quick for many of our younger listeners here, what's Encarta?
Oh, yes. Encarta was Wikipedia, but on CD-ROM, developed by Microsoft.
Yes.
So before Wikipedia, that was the encyclopedia you'd go to, and it was kind of this transition between good old Encyclopedia Britannica, which was at least 26 large books.
Nope.
Yes. And modern day Wikipedia.
Yep, and it also had my favorite game on the good old Windows 95, at least. I think it's Mind Maze. Remember where it would just that click
Oh,
through game?
Minesweeper.
Not Minesweeper. It was in
Oh.
Encarta. It was a click through game.
Oh, okay. That one. Yes, I forget the name, but I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah, well, I'll put it in the show notes. I'm sure it's not Mind Maze, but there's like a court jester just messing with you, and the whole thing is you have to answer trivia questions based on the Encarta entries for like random stuff. So it'll be like, what's the capital of Florida, right? And if you get it wrong, it like pushes you back into the dungeon or something.
That's right, and that was from that era when Microsoft was incorporating mini apps within their applications to teach you how to use their applications or to encourage you to use them more. Just as Solitaire was to help familiarize people with pointing and clicking and dragging on this newfangled mouse thing at the time.
Yeah, those were the days. It's just, I have so many fond memories of Encarta when it's 6 or 7 CD-ROMs, whatever it was.
Yeah, that's right. And those barely make the slightest fraction of the entries in Wikipedia. And of course, you couldn't contribute to them. There was
Nope.
just the Encarta authors and whatever research team Microsoft were able to put together. But that was it.
That was it. It was basically digitized encyclopedia. All right, so you wrote your Encarta like thing for I forgot the
for
customer.
this research, for National Research Bureau, and it was this database of every shopping mall in America, and
Nice.
they sold the full set for $12,000 a seat, and there were people who needed this information and were willing to pay that much for it. And you have to remember these were $19.99.
I was gonna say I like your seat pricing there in 1990, whatever it was. Yeah, that's really nice. I'm very jealous. So that was written in
Visual Basic.
I knew it. I was going to say because you were formerly a Microsoftie too, right?
Yes, but that was before I was a Microsoftie.
Oh, so this was first.
This was first. Prior to that, my paid programming experience was writing in Lingo, the programming language for the multimedia tool Director. I was working with a CD-ROM company when CD-ROMs were all the rage, and there used to be dedicated CD-ROM stores.
See, even I'm a little too young for this one. I had CD-ROM software, but I didn't know what. Yeah, I just remember Best Buy, and I don't know if this was a thing down south, but software, etc.
Don't know, because I was in Toronto at the
Oh, you're
time.
in Canada.
So yeah, the
So
big
software,
record.
etc. They had a Canadian sister. I think it was
Hmm,
EB Electronics Boutique or something.
possibly. I'm going to
Yeah,
have to think back about that one. The CD-ROM store I often went to was This Is Sam the CD Man, which
that's
was a
epic.
spin-off of Sam the Record Man, at the time the
Oh,
big
of
record
course.
store across Canada.
Yeah, yeah. That makes. Yeah, oh God, there used to be some weird software you could pick up on like one CD-ROM, pop it in, and God, you hope it installed.
Yeah, that's right. And even developer tools you had to get that way. There was and this was across US and Canada, a place called Developers Workshop, because you couldn't at least on a 14.4 modem, it was not reasonable to download a developer tool, so you would go to Developers Workshop and buy a shrink wrapped copy of Visual Basic or Borland Delphi or Borland C++ or Visual C++ or things like that in a box with a paperback manual. It was wild, and one or two CDs.
And you would pay a not insignificant amount of money for it.
That is correct. The basic version of Visual Basic at the time was 600 Canadian, once
Oof,
again in $1999.
oof.
And if you wanted the complete set, when I worked at Microsoft later on, between 2008 and 2011, yeah, Visual Studio Ultimate Edition was $15,000 a seat.
Yeah, see, Visual Studio proper. Well, I mean, I guess there was no VS Code back at the time frame
No.
I'm talking about. Was aspirational for me, but it was that $1,000+ price tag, even for like the student edition. That didn't happen because wow.
Oh yeah, that it was a different time, and you did have to pay a lot of money, and on top of that, you had to buy zip disks.
Oh yeah. Oh god, zip disk. Horrible technology.
And the interesting thing is, now I'm getting a little bit of that feeling again that we're on the precipice of something big.
Yes.
Now that we have Cursor, and I don't know for how much longer Windsurf, but all these other
Yeah.
AI tools.
Yeah. Windsurf looks like it's not long for the world. But it's funny though. I get pitches into the show almost every week of like somebody's new AI coding tool, or now the big trend seems to be like code review, like AI powered code review.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that it's kind of gonna be sustainable for all these different players, given that you have to pretty much integrate these tools with your workflow,
Yes.
right? And if your workflow is already GitHub, there's a little outfit you're familiar with out of somewhere in Washington State
Mm-hmm.
that God they kind of got it all wired up there.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
do. That's the thing. But this whole gold rush is what I'm getting that deja vu feeling from. Once again, I mean, for a while, even if your company was nothing internet related, if you added .com to your company name, there was interest in it. If it was publicly traded, its stock would go up. It was wild and crazy. And now it's the same thing, except now it's AI this, AI that, agents, that sort of thing.
yeah. I run LinkedIn ads for my Alice software, my automation ETL thing,
Hmm.
and if I don't put the letters AI in the ad, my cost per impression goes way up, and the results are just generally bad. If I just somehow add those two letters, even if it's just like at the end #AI, it's kind of incredible how rewarded you are for riding the wave.
Yeah, it's wild. So, and it's impressive because we have to remember that ChatGPT in its public form hasn't had its third birthday yet.
Yeah.
That's not till the end of November this year. and it is just stunning how many things have changed in that little time. And
Well, and their public release really launched the whole industry. Google had to publicly come out with their thing. They're now calling Gemini. Facebook's got like 3 different things running around.
yeah, they do. I don't know why they're not treating it the same way, say Anthropic or OpenAI, or they're not releasing it in the same way. I don't know why they're doing that. It's perhaps because they see themselves not as a developer tooling company, but it's kind of hard to perform Kremlinology on internet companies, anyways.
Yeah.
But this 3-year difference isn't all that different from 1995, the first public release of Netscape, if not
Mm.
1.0, 0.9. So the first browser in a form that we would recognize it today, and say 1998. So that's also a 3-year difference. That's when Microsoft decided maybe this internet fad is not going to blow over.
Just maybe.
Just maybe.
Yes, the internet tidal wave memo. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it might not hurt to borrow some lessons from then. Maybe try and find out where the parallels are, and try not to be the companies that we don't remember anymore, but steal some ideas from the companies that did, if not the companies, the ideas or concepts that live on today, or at least went on for a bit instead of being a flash in the pan.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, I know there's a somewhat vocal, but I think relatively small subset of folks that I'm sure you've heard from too, but I hear from them all the time that just think this whole AI thing is a fad. It's going to go away. It's, bullshit. I don't think that's true. It doesn't seem to be true. It seems to be silly not to use it. And I'm even talking outside of like developer world, right? Like if you're an entrepreneur, I could give you a real example. I don't, we're a tiny shop, so I'm always loath to like hire, marketing consultants, stuff like that. Well, with some of these AI tools, I can make one or have someone make one ad and then do variants of it just by pumping it through the AI, tweaking. And you have to sit there and hold its hand. But that saves a couple $1,000.
Oh, yeah.
Just running my calendar and, has been great. Yeah.
It's useful for all sorts of things. It's a fantastic sounding board. And actually, sooner or later, when I talk about AI just in general life use, I always say that no matter how clever or inventive or creative you are, by definition, it is impossible for you to come up with a list of things you would never think of.
Correct.
And that's what AI is fantastic at. Ignoring the big issues of intellectual property, the fact that generally most commercially accessible AIs have been trained on these large swaths of online and published and oftentimes pirated data. I mean, it's just going to have been exposed to more. It's going to have had a larger training set than you did.
Right.
I guess that's the best way. That's the best way to phrase it. And at this point, you know what? It's best to be pragmatic and use it like what Steve Jobs called the bicycle for your mind.
Yes.
The thing that makes you even more. It's more efficient. And yeah, and that's going to be a thing we're going to need to figure out, is how to use it as a bicycle and not as a crutch.
Well, I think that's the key, right? Because there's going to be, I think, a lot of, it's tough to phrase things nicely sometimes. Hang on. There's going to be, all right,
Go harsh.
Been doing this since 2012. And we used to have a running gag where me and Chris, my old co-host, would kind of beat up on the, junior developers who copy pasta from Stack Overflow their way through the interview and then get demolished in their first week, right? I could say this now because it doesn't matter. I used to give we've been remote for a while.
All right.
And I used to give a programming test, anybody junior, that was, I don't know if you're familiar with, Pokemon has an open API that's just online that you can use in any language you want, right? It's just a REST API.
Hmm.
And it's got all the Pokemon and some images and some stats. And the assignment is make me a basic Pokédex. Usually I'd be hiring for Python or Rails, right? So
Okay.
it'd be like make it in Flask or make it in Rails. Okay. I decided right when I signed up for ChatGPT Pro, I'm like, let me find the old Google Doc I used to send people. It just copy and paste that into ChatGPT. It took it a minute and a half, maybe not even.
All right.
And it's like, sure, here it is. I did it in Rails. Congratulations. And I'm like, damn. I don't know how you're doing remote programming tests anymore because that's not going to work.
Yeah, well, I guess at this point it's going to be, I don't know, whiteboard exercises or remote pairing. That
Yeah,
might
I could see remote pairing makes sense.
that might have to be the way to do it, and that's the only way to do it now. Is you'd have to actually do it you'd have to do it cooperatively, if not live, at least with a high amount of regular feedback. Maybe it would have to be a take home assignment where you check in several times a day. I don't know. You'd probably still use AI, but at least it would be a good, realistic assessment of how someone would be using AI in the real world. I mean, in the actual job anyway.
So it's funny though, right? Because reflexively, I want to be like, oh, I don't want them using AI in the interview. But I think about it, I think I'd be unhappy like in 2025 if I hired a junior right now and he or she just refused to like use Copilot or whatever AI we're trying out.
Well,
Because yeah,
that's the thing. That would be like somebody saying way back when, "Oh, you know what? I'm not using these. I'm not using these newfangled high-level programming languages. That keeps you too far from the machine."
assembly or nothing.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. I'm assembly or nothing. Or later on, there were. I remember when I worked at Microsoft, There were people who really relied on an add-on to Visual Studio called ReSharper.
Oh, yeah, very familiar from JetBrains. Yep.
There we go. ReSharper. Yeah, there were people who absolutely loved ReSharper, and there was this other camp that absolutely refused to use it because they were saying that'll make you lazy. Today you're using ReSharper, tomorrow you're gonna refuse to walk and want to be carted around in one of those Wall-E chairs.
I mean, I don't see that as a horrible fate. I'm just saying it's not the worst thing that could happen. But yeah, it does have the like angry uncle at Thanksgiving vibe to it, doesn't it? It's like, well, when I was a kid, we didn't have a car and we walked uphill in the winter in Pennsylvania. This might be my actual uncle, God rest his soul, that I'm talking about here.
Oh
But it's
yeah.
like that sucks for you, but we
Oh
don't
yeah.
live in the mountains right now, so
Oh.
there's no need for that. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Well, I used to joke that I was saying, you know what, I will be disappointed someday if I'm not yelling at kids, going, "Oh, you kids have it easy. We didn't plug nothing in our head. We used a keyboard and a mouse."
Oh, I know it's coming. I mean, I keep taking demos because I have this dream that. So one of the things I hire junior folks for is writing. This is a little inside baseball, but writing unit tests and integration
Hmm.
tests. Right, it seems like a great use. You can hook them up with Cursor or Copilot, whatever your poison of choice is. I mean, there's other choices too, and it's a really cost-effective way to have test coverage and not have to bill the client obscene amounts of money where they are like, hey, you're too expensive. I don't know why this isn't a thing that there isn't, to my knowledge, and I've taken a few demos, a good AI tool, particularly for stuff like Rails, where a Rails application is pretty opinionated on how it's going to be structured.
Right.
And as long as you're not doing any weird monkey patching, it should be able to go through and basically look at your code and write and maintain. The key is maintain them, right, as the requirements evolve and you change the base code. Tests, keeping them in sync with the new business logic based on prompts for like, make sure an employee always has a valid HR ID, right? Or make
Right.
sure, a contract has a customer, whatever it is. I haven't found one yet, except for, and this is why I kind of think this is Microsoft's game to lose, Copilot itself in the not the last one, but I think the one before release of VS Code It's just like, oh, you can like tell me it's a test, or I know it's a test if it's under test, and just as a comment, right, test this controller. And son of a gun, it just started looking at the controller and just, oh yeah, okay, I'm generating tests for all these controller actions. And they were not 100% there, but instead of taking me 2 or 3 hours, it took me 20 minutes.
Right.
Paying a lot of money. Seems like a good win.
Right. That's the thing. And that's, at least with AIs for the foreseeable future, I would say, yes, let's use them that way. Let's treat, let's act like Tony Stark and the AIs are Friday, or Jarvis first, now Friday. But basically, Tony Stark is still doing the major thinky work. And the AI, whether it's Jarvis or Friday, is helping out or taking care of the error-prone drudgery.
That's exactly it, yeah. Right, Docker files, right? I don't know how heavily you use Docker, but I'm pretty much whale-pilled here.
I need to use it more.
I'm hooked. I've been using it for years, and I'm so resistant to not using it now that I think I'm slightly obnoxious to some people. But it's just, I can just tell Copilot, like, this is a, I don't know, fast API Python app with a Postgres database. I need 2 workers, blah, 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 blah. Go. And in a minute or less, it generates a proper Docker file. It has access to my GitHub, so it does the whole Docker Hub thing with your private GitHub. And yeah, basically point it at a server, create the GitHub action, and you're good to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have been in the mobile world too long, and of course, in that particular case, Docker. You just don't use Docker when writing mobile apps.
It's provisioning profiles and tiers. I used to be in that world for a long time.
All right, so my plan actually is to do the reverse of what AI training did, and actually any area where I'm particularly weak, I'm going to write a nice prompt and go write an app that uses Docker and does this. Maybe a simple CRUD app in a framework I'm not familiar with, and then Docker, and then just walk through it and go, okay, it works. AI, explain this to me, and then I'll start tinkering around with it. And that's how I'm going to learn.
Oh, I love that idea. So you using the AI is almost like a mentor.
Yeah, or basically like the computer on Star Trek. That's the...
Yeah, but every season, it's going to be like, I'm sorry, Joey. I know I missed Star Trek and HAL 9000, but...
Yeah, that's right. And at least once a season, I'm going to have to improvise my way out of a holodeck trap.
Well, it's okay. VBasic. You got it. You're good. I think my Objective-C is not going to be loved. It's going to be like, what the hell's with the brackets? What are you doing?
Well, yeah, I know. If I end up in a Jurassic Park scenario, I can at least say, oh, this is Unix. I know this.
They're very good. This is Unix. War games. Good times.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we're coming up on time here, but I always end with the same question for everybody.
Oh.
It's a wild one.
Okay.
What is one tool that you can't live without? Now, tool is used super loosely here. It can be a coding thing. It could be, weirdly, most people are mentioning like beverage making tools like AeroPresses and coffee heating things. One guy had a speaker. So.
All right. Let's see now. It's going to be obvious, but it's going to be unique as well. And I would have to say, yeah, you know what? It's the accordion.
Yeah, I kind of figured. I was wondering if you were going to do that. Yeah.
I know it's obvious, but it's just proven to be useful. Even just for the purpose of making somebody's birthday a little more interesting. I usually take it when I go out. You go to a bar or restaurant, it's always somebody's birthday.
Yeah.
And if I can play happy birthday for them, usually what happens is, it's a weird, surreal thing. It's a story they'll be able to tell later. And oftentimes they they either give me a slice of cake or buy me a beer. And it is a machine that turns music into free cake and beer.
You can't argue with that.
Which is delightfully Star Trek-y anyways. It's like having a replicator.
It's like a replicator, and it produces a jaunty tune.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, Joey, thanks you for coming on, and I may or may not be seeing you next week.
Okay, well, hopefully we will. Let me check out that event, and I'll let you know. But Michael, hey, thanks so much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
All right, you too.
Bye bye.